What happens when you get 60 companies that you funded through TechStars and bring them all to Vegas? Well, you know what they say, what happens in Vegas ends up on This Week in TechStars next. Hey everybody, it's David Cohen. I'm the founder and CEO of TechStars. We're back with another episode of This Week in TechStars. We're going to have a great segment that you're not going to want to miss from Ben Haz. He's the founder and CEO over at the Cheezburger Network. You know the lolcats. They're awesome. So stay tuned for that, coming up in just a bit. I'm joined in the studio this week again by Claire Tischer.
Hi.
Thanks for hanging out with us, as always.
Of course.
Just thought we would run through a little bit of news before we get to Ben Haz.
Sounds good.
Let's talk about Foursquare. There's some interesting things going on with Foursquare around the TechStars system.
Yeah. So not only did we just integrate it into the Boulder office, so if you check in, you'll find some nice Easter eggs, but also in New York City, the New York City office is moving into the former Foursquare office.
Wow, that's very meta.
I know.
So basically, if you come to Boulder and you check in on Foursquare at the Boulder office, there's some fun things to find and do.
Insider knowledge.
Insider knowledge.
Yeah.
Give me an example. We don't want to give it away, I guess.
Get David to sign your copy of Do More Faster.
Oh, that's an obvious one. But there's all kinds of not so obvious ones.
There's some funnier ones, but you have to come in person to get them.
Okay. We'll keep them secrets. The New York TechStars program will be operating out of where Foursquare grew up.
Yeah.
So start your startup where Foursquare started.
It happened kind of organically. David Tisch was meeting with them, and they were both talking about how they needed more office space. And it just kind of happened. So
we're very excited to be in that space. It's a beautiful new space. It'll, I think, make the New York program even better. Previously, we were in with Pivotal Labs in New York, which was great. They were great roomies, but having our own space and really making it ours.
Yeah.
And it's just neat, the sort of history of Foursquare there. So that'll be exciting in New York.
And more room means we don't have to kick the founders out as quickly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's see. So really, the big news this week, I guess, is we were in Vegas. We took 60 plus companies that we funded. A bunch of our mentors showed up.
Yeah.
And of course all of our staff from around the country, and we hung out really for 2 full days, more importantly 3 nights.
Yeah.
And we were at Caesars.
Yeah, it was decorated for the holidays. It was beautiful.
Yep. And there were a lot of people were staying at Bellagio and Bally's. I know where a lot of people were there. So we sort of took over a few hotels. I guess they're pretty big. We didn't totally take them over, but we had a lot of people. Yeah, we sort of owned the coffee shops, I think.
And we're sponsored by Rackspace and SVB Financial, who are great.
It's expensive to do this stuff, so thanks to SVB, thanks to Rackspace for chipping in and allowing us to do that. They showed up and helped the companies as well. The whole point of the founders conference, the reunion, whatever you want to call it, is that we really get everybody together and we go deep with the companies again. We haven't seen them in a while, face to face. We allow them to really network with each other and meet some of the people from the other cities that they haven't met. So it's
absolutely
amazing networking. There were a lot of talks. The founders, you can see we're sort of listening to some of the different talks going on. But a lot of it, really most of it, I think, was just about being with each other, going to dinner with each other.
Absolutely. We did paired dinners, sort of forced interaction, but showing people how they could benefit from each other.
That's right, and just sort of getting people with similar interests together.
Yeah.
We had Don Dodge there.
He's awesome. He talked about failures on the way to success, and he had a very physical example of a car falling into a lake, and then the machinery to get the car out falling into the lake, and
all about
very
failure.
Insightful.
All about failure.
That we learned.
So what I learned
failure.
was don't park your car next to a lake. I think that's what Don was going for.
I learned live in a landlocked area.
Right. I think he was going for a little bit bigger message. Don, of course, was at Microsoft for years. Blogged at the next big thing. Now is at Google as a developer advocate and has been for a while. Don is just an amazing supporter of startups. He's done a bunch of his own startups. He's been a TechStars mentor since 2007, the first year. He's talking about little failures on the way to success, and also about what Google does, which is this idea of setting impossible goals.
Yep.
So at Google, you get a big bonus if you hit 50 or 60% of your goal. But if you hit 90% of your goal, you don't.
Yeah.
That's a failure.
He said it's better to achieve 30% of the impossible than 100% of the ordinary.
Right. We recorded that talk, and today on this show we're going to show Ben Haz, but maybe next week or one of the following weeks we'll show Don's talk.
Be a nice
in full
holiday
as well.
gift.
Yeah, because I thought it was pretty inspiring and interesting. Of course, Brad Feld was there talking about entrepreneurial communities.
Yeah, he talked to us over lunch, so we ate our sandwiches and listened to his insight about how he kind of supports the Boulder community and getting people interacting with each other, and
Yeah, which really trying to help people understand how they can make their entrepreneurial communities
stronger.
better.
Yeah.
And of course, Brad is just always fun and interesting. He had his Big Lebowski sweater on.
Yep, he was dressed like the dude all weekend.
I was excited to see that he wasn't in PJs, because at a meeting we had the week before, he had that and PJs on.
Oh, good.
So that's Brad for you. We also had Steve Blank.
Yeah.
Steve came in and talked to us for a while. Steve, of course, sort of the father of customer development.
Yeah. Serial entrepreneur. He's the author of 4 Steps to the Epiphany.
Right.
And he talked about the second generation of customer development.
Right. What we've learned in the 10 years since we wrote the book.
Right.
And I thought it was interesting because everybody sort of in our world has read the book and knows about customer development. Eric Ries, of course, has come along and furthered that with his book, The Lean Startup. And Steve really just was giving us deep insight into planning out your business. He's got this great matrix on his blog, on his website. Just Google Steve Blank, where you fill in the different areas of the business model. And his point is, those are all just, in his words, fucking guesses, right? And they should be viewed as fucking guesses, right? And a pivot is changing one of those fucking guesses to another fucking guess, right? And then once you start to learn that piece works, then you build a business model. So I thought that was really interesting.
Absolutely. See how all the cogs in the wheel work.
We have at the conference all kinds of companies. One of them, of course, is SendGrid, who's a big sponsor of the show here on This Week in TechStars. Isaac was there, and they have just grown like a rocket ship, and I think they really helped our companies understand some of the challenges of scaling. Isaac actually did a little talk on bringing in management around you. Yeah. Of course, he's hired many people in the company, including the CEO.
They've scaled so well.
Well, they're at 100 million plus emails a day.
Right.
Allow you to integrate SendGrid very easily with your web app to make sure your email gets delivered, to make sure that you can report on it, understand what's happening. Increases deliverability. It's easy to scale. Basically, SendGrid makes your web app better with email. So thanks to them for doing the show. But Isaac really shared what it's like to go through that and to bring a CEO into the company and marketing around you. And I think the other companies thought it was super helpful and insightful.
I randomly bumped into a college friend out in Boulder the other night, and he had just moved here, and I said, "Do you need a job?" And he said, "No, I'm working at SendGrid." So I said, "Oh, I work at TechStars."
Well, they have a lot of people now.
Small world, yeah.
They have a lot of people now. What else? Jason Mendelsohn was there.
He was. He talked about, he kind of mirrored one of his favorite books, which is Getting to Yes, all about how VCs are real people and they don't always want to be pitched, and how to take a negative situation and form it into something positive. Yep. And basically, not necessarily the etiquette, but just how to be a human being when you're asking for money.
Yep. So that was a great talk. I think Jason's really iterated on that one as well over time, so it was all new to me. Of course, we got the Las Vegas tech community together while we were there.
We did. They were so awesome. Vegas Tech came out, also Vegas Jelly. A lot of people from Zappos. We all met at the Seahorse Lounge on Saturday, and a lot of them brought their products and pitches, and everyone was so excited. And Brad came, and it was standing room only. I was trying to crowd surf over people to meet other people. So.
Massive turnout. I don't know. What did you say? 400 people or so.
I was really pleased with it.
For that.
Yeah.
So, and that was organized by some of the guys from Zappos. Speaking of Zappos, we went on a little tour.
We did. We went on a shoe tour.
Yeah. We everybody wears shoes, so we thought it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
But a lot of the founders said to me, wow, we really learned a lot about culture, and just seeing it. They were surprised by a few things, including that it was such an open and sort of loud environment.
Collaborative.
Yeah. And they issued the developers headphones to deal with that, but. Seemed like people really enjoyed that tour as well, so we thank Zappos for that.
And thanks Rick Duggan. He also poured everyone Jack Daniels at the end of the tour, so that's always nice.
That would be Rick, yeah.
Always helpful.
This sounds like a lot of work, of course, what was going on there, but there was a little bit of fun happening as well.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the Werewolf game that broke out one night.
So Werewolf is basically like a whodunit role-playing game, and it's pretty popular in the tech world. It's always played at South by Southwest. And Ben Hutt arranged a game for Saturday night for whoever was game after the Saturday happy hour. And when everyone had their heads down, our managing director of Cloud was moderating, Jason Seitz, and he randomly opened a closet, and we're back in the caverns of Caesars, and found someone passed out, drunk, just some random guy.
Well, any closet that you open anywhere in Las Vegas, there's what, a 30% chance you're going to see some dude. I especially like the sort of touch of having no shoes.
Yeah, and he had a coffee, like that would help him.
Yeah,
later.
stay awake.
We woke him up to make sure he was fine.
You did?
He was fine, but he wanted to be left alone.
It was very responsible of you. He just
we couldn't be the people that left a body.
Messed up, or was he just sleeping?
He couldn't handle his Vegas, essentially.
Right, yeah. There were other stories of people not handling their Vegas, I'm sure, but we won't share those.
They'll
on the
remain
show.
Nameless.
So amazing time in Vegas. We will do that every year. We have this founders conference, and hopefully we get better every year. We got some feedback on things we could do better.
We did. The part of having it in Vegas is some people have a little too much fun the night before, so intros can be kind of difficult the next morning.
Yep.
And also, we heard from people that they'd love more paired meals. And the breakout panel sessions we did on discussions, a few people had wanted to convene as one big group and talk about what they'd learned.
Well, as with all feedback, we're doing customer development when we learn about these things. I heard from people that they wanted fewer of the paired dinners that were sort of forced and more ability to go together. So of course you get conflicting feedback. I think if you take that up a level, what a lot of the founders said is, make sure that we're in groups where we have similar interests and not just be randomly thrown together.
Sure.
Or similar stage of the business or similar market. So we learned that. So every year we'll get better.
We always want to improve.
What else is going on? New York applications, of course, are open in New York. You can apply now. Get the $18K from TechStars. You get the optional $100K from the dozen VCs nationally that have offered that. So you can go in with $118,000 now. New York, I expect there to be 1,000 plus applications, so it's going to be a dogfight for those 10 spots.
Yeah.
But that's good because you'll be working with the best of the best if you can get in.
Go to a happy hour. Techstars.com/events.
That's right. Techstars.com/events. Great thing. You can always see, not just for happy hours, but for anything that's public facing that we're doing. Where can you find us at trade shows? Where can you find us at different events that are happening?
Yep.
So check that out, techstars.com/events. And we want to get to the Ben Ha interview. Sorry, not interview. The Ben Ha talk. I'm still recovering from Vegas myself, as you can see. Ben did a great talk about, basically Cheezburger becoming this internet phenomenon and how they think about the world differently. And I think we found it really interesting. Hope you do too. Here's Ben Ha talking about that at the TechStars Founder Conference.
And the stuff that we learned, and then there's a little surprise at the end, so make sure you stick around. All right, lolcats, captioning cat photos and posting them somewhere. It did not start on the internet. It started somewhere in the 1960s, right? People started buying posters with like kittens hanging on a branch for a cat. So this is an interesting phenomenon. People seem to love to anthropomorphize animals. In other words, put human emotion on animals. Well, it turns out in 1905 there was a dude selling postcards with cat captions on it. I'm going to use my fancy new laser pointer and point out to you that says, "What's delaying my dinner?" 1905. Welcome to the internet where everything is old. So, about 100 years later, this guy in Hawaii gets an IM from his girlfriend who sends him this photo. He thinks it's so funny he buys this exact domain name. Pro tip number 1. When you buy a domain name and you want to make that your brand, make sure you buy the 9 other misspellings around it. We spent $10,000 to $15,000 cleaning that mess up about 3 years later. So, I Can Haz Cheezburger, try to buy the one that actually says cheese, like the proper way. Most people on the internet now think that's the actual way of spelling cheeseburger, so I'm kind of alright. But just a pro tip, alright? Buy the real spelling. So just a couple months later, the guy is bursting through the seams of his server hosting account that he was paying $9.95 a month for, shared hosting, and they're trying to kick him off because he used 2 terabytes of bandwidth in 2 weeks. He's going nuts. So he quits his job and he gets overwhelmed, and then I show up. I showed up just by serendipity, ended up meeting the guy over the internet, and I said, why don't I help you pro bono because you're blind and I have half a vision, and therefore I know more than you on internet advertising. Literally, I knew nothing, but he knew less. That's the only reason I ended up actually helping him out. I saw the traffic data, ended up meeting a friend of mine who was an entrepreneur / angel investor in Seattle, showed him the traffic, and he said, we should buy this. And I said, I don't have the money. I said, well, I'll help you raise the money if you'll start the company and run it. I said, well, let me think about that for a second. I have a job I don't like. You're going to tell me that I can pursue my dream of being an entrepreneur again, and you're going to help me raise money and you're an angel investor? Yeah, let's do that. So we raised $2.25 million. No business plan. I gave one PowerPoint presentation to the angel investors, and they said, go home and come back with a better one. They'll usually never give you that chance. So I came back 2 weeks later with a better presentation, and then they said yes. And the goal of the company was to buy media assets. The first thing we did was form the company and buy Can Haz Cheezburger. And then, a few months later, I found this blog on the internet called Fail Blog. It was pretty small at the time. Some guy in England was doing a pretty good job, but he was really traveling a lot. That was his job, so he couldn't update it every day. So I called him up and I said, hey, I like what you got there. I'd like to buy it. And he's like, well, I don't know. I have big dreams. So are you going to quit your job? No. All right, why don't I just buy it? So we spent a couple of weeks thinking about that, and I went to my board. I want to buy this blog called Fail Blog. And you know what the board said? I thought we were going to be in the animal business. So they said no, and then they said, I want you to bring him down on price. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's cheap enough as it is. Like, no. That's really not our business, so to reduce our risk, bring him down on price. So now I gotta call this guy who wasn't willing to sell and be like, hey, you know that price we agreed on? I kinda need you to lower it, or else I can't buy it. Anyway, I'm sure you know how the story turns out. We bought it. And then the financial crisis happened, and every bank in the world started failing. And you know what happened to Google search for the word fail? Went through the roof. You know where Google pointed you to if you typed in fail and then pressed I'm feeling lucky? Fail blog. So all these people who are trying to obviously understand the definition of the word fail, got shown this site. There wasn't much head scratching going on at that time. We did not help to alleviate that situation. Anyway, we now, a few years later, we now have 25 million users. And this is how we view the world. That's actually not the scale. This is the sun. I love this laser pointer. That's us. We're probably actually this big compared to the sun. And this is to show you why we live today, why we survive as a business today. The media thinks all of this people, all of us, are dirty, nasty, dumb people. We are not the people specially ordained to create content that's consumable for the masses. The only thing we can do is sit behind the television and watch their fucking ads. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're not supposed to be capturing cats on the internet. We're not supposed to be taking videos of people getting kicked in the nuts. We're not supposed to be going out and making bad music videos that get seen 10 million times. That's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be sitting behind the television, sitting behind the newspaper, reading the shit they create. But thanks to the internet, that's not what's happening. We create more content in a day than the professional media does in a year. I bet you we have actually started creating more media in an hour than they make an entire year. All the emails you create, all the text messages you write, all the Instagrams you take, all the Angry Bird screenshots you're so proud of keeping because you nailed that in one shot, that's content. That is actually, surprisingly, mass consumable content. And mass has a new definition. It is more than you. That's all it is. Mass media isn't millions of people anymore. It's just more than one. How many people have less than 1,000 Facebook followers? All right. You can comprise the vast majority of Twitter. You comprise the engine that drives all of Twitter. It is not the celebrities that drive Twitter. At the end of the day, it is these tiny little interactions, these tiny little broadcasts that you make that only a handful of people see that is really the power behind user-generated content. And they create things like this. Hey Zombie was the original Rebecca Black. He posted this video of singing a song called Chocolate Rain, don't ask me, on 4chan, and became a minor bad celebrity for it. Chuck Norris Facts, which has nothing to do with Chuck Norris other than using his name and likeness to say things like Chuck Norris has counted to infinity twice, and Chuck Norris has a fist behind his beard. Okay? These are jokes that are just kind of random. They come organically from the internet. They latch onto a zeitgeist that we all knew and all understood, yet hadn't been coaxed out yet. And that's what's really great about internet culture and memes. Because internet culture will produce the rock stars of tomorrow. Before the advent of television, you did not have rock stars. You had musicians. Until we could actually see and watch Elvis Presley swing his hips in a very provocative manner on television, we did not have rock stars. The internet will change that paradigm one more time, where anybody can potentially be this rock star, where anybody can actually rise to the top of the charts for being horrible, because we enjoy it. And as long as, and I find it very interesting that we are like in Caesar's palace, as long as you entertain the masses, they will love you. This is gladiatorial combat on the internet. Can you be famous in one way, shape, or form, whether you like it or not? A lot of people have been made famous by internet where they didn't really want to be famous. And this is how the media understands this. Crap is now cool. Reality television is pretty fucking bad. Yet so many people watch it. Housewives of New Jersey? Are you kidding me? One of the most highest rated shows on cable television. Our lives are actually really interesting. The things that we understand in common is what's driving our desire to watch one another. And one of the nice things about the internet is, I was a total geek in high school. I read the newspaper and the yearbook, the Honor Society. I wasn't exactly one of the most popular kids. I was really somewhat of an outcast. When I went to college, I started meeting people who were like me. I found my tribe. I went to journalism school. Nobody else cared about journalism at my school. And when I got there, it was like, oh my God, these people actually like to read. Holy crap, right? I had one of those moments. I went to kind of a bad high school. Well, on the internet, that's happening everywhere. Kids who are finding each other who like Minecraft. Women who thought they were the only knitters in their community finding one another. These are beautiful things that's happening because we realize now that we are not alone. And the internet is making those connections really, really efficient and effective. I'll read this out to you. That's a picture of a cat with bacon taped to the side. Perspective, award, success, fame, perhaps one day they will be yours, but the fact is nothing you'll ever do will be more popular than that online picture of bacon taped to a cat. This cat is the leading edge, the beginning of the power curve. Like, this cat separates the power curve from the long tail. Okay? If you are more popular than this cat, you have made it into the big leagues. It's a very, very easy barometer to understand. This is not TV material. Like, you can't put this on a TV show and be like, people laugh. It doesn't work that way. But on the internet, it's different. It's not just making videos and put it online. It is that we have developed a distinctly separate culture of consumption and content creation that we've never seen before. That's why we exist. And people say, what's wrong with America, that this is a fad. In fact, I think People Magazine called me like in my first 3 months of existence as a company and said, we'd like to put you in our 2007 fads issue. And I said, go away, we are not a fad. We said no, they still printed it anyway. We didn't supply it with any photos, so it became a little blur. But I hated the word fad because I felt like the media was looking down on us. You are like a pet rock. No, we're not. We are nothing like a pet rock. We're interactive. We actually consume the ideas of the community and let people understand what is great about themselves. This is far more than a pet rock. And if they're going to hate it, that's okay. I will ignore them. Because we're about matchmaking. We're about taking people who love something weird, where people think that they're alone, people think that they're unusual, and finding other communities that share that same passion. That's why we have 50-some websites. If you are really into graphing humor, I mean, this gets kind of weird. So if you want to know how to tell a joke, you wouldn't think about using Excel. Right? Excel, not funny, jokes, supposed to be funny. But sometimes opposites is the best way to tell a story. So if you want to know, you want to make a graph and you want to tell part of your life story, you can actually use it as a vehicle of humor. And people are doing that. This image here, you know the feeling you get right before you get a Tetris? Yeah, you make me feel like that. Just so that you know, these are actually blocks that are white. So that when this thing gets here, let me explain Tetris to you guys. When this gets here, these 4 blocks will go away, and it's like the best feeling. Right? It's like the original Angry Birds, like, wow, I got it, one shot. Okay? This is a love poem. Think about that. The girlfriend wrote to her boyfriend this love poem. You will not see this in a Walmart. But if you're a geek, you understand this instantaneously. This is about matchmaking. This is about delivering on an underserved area, and allowing people to express themselves. And that's what internet culture is all about. And sadly, when you are an entrepreneur and when you're trying to change the world, the cards are stacked against you. The cards are very much stacked against you. The money, the power, the love, the influence, the traffic, the brand, none of that. You don't have any of that. And yet, we throw ourselves up against the grinder and decide that we are going to take risks with our career, and our time, and our family, and our future to try to change the world. So the only way to win this game isn't to play that game at all. You have to invent a new game. Every single startup that I've seen that has been successful did not play by the rules of the old game. They decided to invent a new one and force the other people to play. If you write the rules, you get to write them to your advantage. Mahatma Gandhi said, first they'll ignore you, second they'll fight you, then you win. If you invent the game to make them play you, you win that game. It's that simple. And 7 rules that we're teaching at Cheezburger. And these are really cultural rules that will allow us to invent new rules for our industry. First, we teach people no but. So by the way, usually I end the presentation kind of there, except David said you should, David said you should tell a story, and Brad Felt said you should really give them practical tips. So now you're getting into the practical tip session, okay? No but. If somebody else on your team asks you a question or asks you to do something, and you end with a no, you are an asshole. These are your teammates. Always end a no with a but. You know, I can't really do that for you, but here's something else I can do. Even if it's nominal. If you ever have a falling out with your founder, it's because you did not say but. Stop saying no, follow it with but. Always try to help your teammates no matter what. And as your company gets larger, you'll see what I mean. Number 6. Audience first, advertiser second, then everybody else. This is my edited version of Fred Wilson's post. For us, we're very specific. We don't just say users, we just say audience. It is our audience who come and visit. Number 2, advertisers. Those are the people who fund our business. And then everybody else, including us. We're very clear about who our priorities are, right? And if you don't have the statement, if you don't understand your priorities as to who your customers are, and you have multiple customers, you're going to get into a situation of a slippery slope. So make sure you have this. Hunt down the sacred cows. Not just ignore them or destroy them, like actively hunt them down. My business model today is the creation of a service in which users will submit content, we will filter, and we will sell advertising against it. That is my business model. But that is not my business. My business is to make everyone in the world happy for 5 minutes a day. And if my business model gets in the way, I will destroy that business model and invent a new one. Because I'm not in the business of selling ads. I'm in the business of making people happy for just a few minutes a day, right? So if your business model gets in the way, destroy it. Find a way to move on to something that is bigger and better, because you are here to take that risk. And if you play by your own rules and somebody else invents a better one, you're fucked. Right? We are startups and we think that we're startups and we're nimble. At some point, you will find yourself thinking, we're not doing things right. We should be doing something different. That's the moment you decide to change the rules before somebody else does.
Much more to come from Ben Ha, recorded during the Founders Conference in Vegas just recently. I always enjoy listening to Ben. He's amazing. I want to take a quick break and just say thanks to Twilio. They are one of the sponsors of the show as well. They enable all of this to come to you. Twilio allows you to build apps that communicate. If you're building an app and you're a developer, you want to integrate telephony, phone calls, you want to integrate text messaging. Twilio makes it so easy to do.
They do.
They recently announced they raised $17 million
kind
as
of a
well.
big deal.
Congratulations to Twilio.
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll allow them to keep sponsoring the show.
I hope so.
We'll only take like half of that, so that's not that much.
We don't ask for a lot.
No, we don't. And that'll really allow them to grow to another level. They're already doing great.
Yeah.
One of the best performing companies that I happen to be an investor in. I'm lucky to be an investor in Twilio.
Yeah. As of yesterday, they're also in Canada. So everything you can do with an American phone number, you can now do in Canada as well.
So if stuff in America stops working, then you can just blame Canada. Mm-hmm. Right. Thanks to Twilio. Back to the Ben Ha talk.
Always keep attacking. As we get bigger and bigger, I find this sense that we lean back. In other words, we have things that we could lose. We have profits we could destroy. We have existing client relationships we could ruin. But if we do that, I might as well be IBM. I might as well, actually that's bad. IBM is actually pretty good. I might as well be HP. I might as well be a large company that doesn't know what the fuck their future's about. But if we keep attacking, we'll find new answers. Because if we keep attacking, we will either find failures of our own that we'll learn from, or cracks in the wall of somebody else's business. So we'll always keep attacking. Number 3, we're always second to someone else. When we hit 25 million users, we became the largest humor destination in the United States. It's a big, big, big milestone. But I don't like being the worst. Like, number 1 means you get to sit back. Number 1 means you got there. We're not there yet. There are 6 billion people in the world. We reached 25. Like, we need to be second to somebody else. I'd rather be A-list than hers. Because I know which direction to attack when I know when I'm number 2. Over-communicate. I'm sure you've heard this before. Over-communicate this to you. We are a 90-person organization with an incredibly vibrant internet. And that's something I'm really, really proud of. I remember working for a company that had 200 people, and they were trying to get the internet system going, and it was just a dismal failure. It was like listening to crickets on a webpage. Like, nothing ever happened. And once a week, somebody did something that was like random. If you encourage a culture of communication early, if you encourage a culture of open communication, where people are taking meeting notes from their private team meeting and posting it publicly on the internet, you're gonna start winning, right? Because once you start getting transparency, once you feel uncomfortable with telling the problem of their organization to each other, that's when communication starts to happen. So make sure you start that early. You know, if you have 5 people, it's probably a good time to think about it. If you have 15 people, you better have them. Because when you're 90, it's really hard to start that. We started that when we were 45 people. And it was by sheer will that we actually started doing that. I started giving away stuff. Like, I would have an old iPod, and I would hide it somewhere on the internet. And I would go to the homepage of the internet and say, I have hidden a link to an iPod. If you find it and email it to me, you get the iPod. Like, I drive people to start using it. It was hard, but now I'm really proud of the fact that there's probably 30, 40 updates to that internet every single day. In a 90% organization. And lastly, this is something that we're really, really proud of. Don't wait for Superman. So, what happens is our content people will say, I'd like to create this new thing, and this thing requires help from the developers. And if the developers don't help me, I can't do it. And that is absolute utter bullshit. Of course you can do it. You can hack it. You can do something simpler. You can enlist other people's help. But you cannot and absolutely should not wait for development to deliver you a thing on a silver platter and for you to press a button. That is unacceptable. And the same thing goes for development. If developers say, you know, I need this tool, no you don't. How do you simplify it? How do you think about it a different way so that you do not wait for something? And if you have a great idea, the moment is now. Do something small and simple that gets you closer to that idea. And so that's one of the lessons that we teach. So let's take you back. How much time do I have, Dave? All right. I'm going to start when I was born. 34 years ago. I moved to California in 1992. I was 14 years old. 7 years after arriving in the States, I received a journalism degree from Northwestern, and I promptly lost all my money. 40 grand in debt in 2001. The bubble burst. I was in Chicago, horrible place to start at the time. And I was in debt, and I said, either do I get an MBA, I can go back to Kellogg, great MBA, or I could get a street MBA. So I don't pay people. Instead of doing that, they would hire me, I would pay off my debts, and I would actually have a job. Well, let's do the street MBA because A, I'm not academically inclined, and everybody else in the world was inclined to a business club. So, long story short, I ended up working for a bunch of entrepreneurs. So my rule was, I don't care how much you pay me, I will work directly for the founding entrepreneurial CEO. And I did that for 3 separate companies. And then when time was right, I left a job that was paying 140 grand a year in September of 2007. Which is like saying, I jumped off the cliff and I didn't know how deep the cliff was. I had no idea the recession was starting, nobody did at the time. Had I known that data, I might not have the balls to start my business, to be honest. And it was really odd was, we had a profitable cat tourist. So me, myself, and I walking from the bedroom to the living room. That was my commute. My dog would come along, would sit on the couch, watch daytime TV, and process all the gold cats you guys sent me. That was my day. That's the foundation of a business that Brad put in $30 million. So, and then it was weird because and then we grew. We're like, okay, we're more than pets. Now we've got Mailblog, we've got Graphic, we've got a couple other sites. What are we? We became a profitable user-generated content network in the recession. Funny story. January of 2009, right after the financial crisis, we actually shopped the company to AOL and a bunch of others, and AOL made an offer, and we didn't take it. Thank God. So, who knows? I might be sitting next to your seat if that was the case. So anyway, January of this year, Brad, God bless his heart, put in 30. Brad and Greg Gottesman, Rich Lebanon, and Ron Fisher from SoftBank put in $30 million. So let me tell you what happened. So I met Brad about a year and a half before that. Mihal Baldwin, here. Yeah. Mihal introduced me to Brad. We literally met for like 30 seconds at the conference in LA. Brad's like, hey, okay, we left. A couple months later, Greg Gottesman, who's the venture partner at Madrona in Seattle, was good friends with Brad, started letting Brad know about this business. And I think Brad they attempted to do an investment in January of 2009, and our investors said no. Like, there are people who would kill to get Brad and Greg and these guys to invest, and we said no. And at the time, I had a decision to make. Am I an investor or am I an entrepreneur? Because I can't seem to be both. Either I want to pursue my dreams regardless of the cost, or I want to make money. And that's the only thing that I want to do. And I couldn't really play this role in the middle. And so Seth from Foundry came and visited Seattle and sat me down to coffee and said, what do you need? What do you need to make your decision? Because we want to do this deal. Even though you said no, we will make another attempt to do this deal. So I thought about it long and hard. And I felt like we weren't running the business the way it should. We were profitable, we were growing, but we knew that we would never reach our mission if we kept up that pace. And that this organization was doing one of those things where it's going to lean back on itself. That's not what I wanted to see. So I called up Brad about a week or two before Thanksgiving and said, Brad, I want to do this deal. Are you in? And so we ran through the numbers for a little bit. I'm going to have to talk to my partners and call you back. I said, okay, I'm going on vacation for a couple of weeks. You can call me back later. Okay. 15 minutes later, I received a call. Right. That was the largest per hour I've ever made in my life. It was like $120 million an hour. I wish I could do that all day long. But anyway, so we closed the deal in January, and we're very happy to be doing what we do. Because for us, money is only useful because we are pursuing our dream. Because we get to spend that money. And I told Brad, he said, what are you going to do with the money? I said, I don't really know, but chances are I'm going to waste 90% of it. He said, that's fine. That's sweet. And this is the mission that we're going after, make everyone in the world happy for 5 minutes a day. This is not something that I came up with. This was crowdsourced. People started writing us letters and emails and said, you make my day go by faster. I print out photos from your website and I go visit my grandmother in the hospital who has cancer and we laugh. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that was happening before we had a mission statement. We had no mission statement, and this was what was born from our customers. And so that's our story. I have one more surprise, but I'll take questions very quickly. Anyone? Don't be shy. Don't bite. Yes.
What have you done with the money?
What have I done with the money? We bought out a lot of our investors, and we bought a site called Know Your Meaning, and we have doubled the size of our team from 45 to 90 in 8 months, and we are building a humor platform. We want to build a place where everybody can express their sense of humor. Yes?
How did you get your team to stop leaning back and start leaning in? When you get a lot of money, you can also relax.
Yeah. Very good question. How did I get my staff to stop leaning back? First, I do management by sitting down at your desk. I think the last, okay, I'm sitting here. I do management by sitting next to you. So if I see a team that is leaning back, I will literally take my folding chair desk, and I still have a folding table desk, and I will move my desk to your team. And I will sit there until I believe the problem is under control. And then I will pick up my desk and go elsewhere. But I pay attention to it. I make sure that they realize publicly, hey, I will call them out on the company internet and say, hey, I think we need to do X, Y, Z with this team. Let's go do it. Yes?
What was one thing since you started that you wish you could have over or do over? Kind of the 1 point.
What's something I would do over? I don't believe in regret because there's something I can do about it. If I had to do one thing over again, I might have picked a city that rains less. I mean, really, there's not much. I don't really think about that. So it's not yeah. Anyone else? Yes.
What keeps you up at night now?
What keeps me up at night? I am worried that we've gotten too big. Our egos are too big for us. I worry that we are not humble enough. I do a lot of speaking, and I know that I sound very confident up here, but behind this shell is a man who is deeply insecure about the success he's having. Right? I'm sure you guys can all believe that. Like, I am absolutely driven by the fact that I do not wish to lose. And if I feel like I'm losing, you will often get emails from me at 3 or 4 in the morning where I just can't sleep because I feel like we're doing something wrong. So yeah. Yes?
So you guys want to grow to everyone in the world. How are you sort of gaining distribution?
How are we sort of gaining distribution? We let our users take care of that. So,
are there any levers that you guys pull to?
Yeah, we pull some levers on Facebook. We pull some levers on. That's about it. Yes, Facebook. That's the only distribution channel we've actually really worked on. I mean, we did a little SEO, but really, I mean, like, if you type in little cats, how many people do that, right? So we're really just looking for huge levers of distribution, and our biggest lever of distribution, even when we say Facebook, like the only reason we are popular with Facebook is that our users like what we do. So that's the only level. Like, we're focused on that level. Like if you like what we do, make sure you share it. Make sure you like it. Make sure you do something that invites your friends, whether it's for Facebook, Twitter, or whatever. Yes.
How important do you think it is for you personally to embody, evangelize your product, and how valuable do you think that's been for your company?
I don't believe that anyone is irreplaceable. Like, I too am replaceable. If I do a crappy job, I expect Brad to fire my ass. But I think it is incredibly critical for the CEO to live the life that you want your employees to live. So if you want your employees to be transparent, you better start being transparent. You better start writing about the shit that bothers you, the stuff you suck at, the stuff you're good at, the stuff you see and don't see. You've got to lead by example. You absolutely cannot run an organization that is hypocritical and expected to grow beyond you. Because the moment you leave, when a hypocritical example, an organization will destroy itself. All right. Yes. One more question. I'm going to go to the surprise slide.
So this is I love that you're driving the vision. You're
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah.
But sort of obviously, trying to build around an exit of some sort. How does that play into your thinking when you're raising that much money and where do you go?
I have no idea how we will exit.
And how do you say that back to investors?
That's exactly how I said it. I have no idea how we will exit.
So what you were.
I think that plays into, like, they kind of, I don't know if they take this seriously, but like, they said, how will you exit? I don't know, we may be acquired. I'd not prefer that. I would prefer that we stay an independent company that fulfills its mission. That means we should probably IPO or do whatever, find whatever mechanism. Maybe I'll raise, almost $1 billion like Groupon and actually do something with it. I don't know. I let them worry about that, to be honest. I mean, those are investors who've done so much more than I have in terms of exiting and capitalization. Like, I want to focus my team, I want to work on my product, and I'm not every VC thinks like, Brad and Greg and Rich and Ron, and I'm so glad it happened because they're like my employees. Like, they'll ask me, what can I do for you? So, okay, here's what I need you to do. Here's the problem I want you to help me with. And the exit has not yet shown up in any of those questions. Cool. So, I'm channeling my inner Steve Jobs. One more thing. One more thing. Totally unrelated to what I'm doing. This is a side project that I'm trying to hand off to somebody else. The experience of consuming news is broken. Are any of you guys working the news side of the business? Yes?
Really, a platform for media companies to manage the writers and content.
Okay, anybody else?
In fact, you gave us that idea.
Oh, you composed?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, good, we're gonna talk later. So, the news experience is broken. This is what a decent news page looks like. Where's the fucking news? Okay, Mythbusters something's wrong. Ads, watch us live, ads, navigation, share buttons. Irony is, I'm criticizing that kind of looks like our site. We're in the process of changing that so that you guys know. We look like shit and we know it, and we're gonna fix it. But like, this is not a great experience. Like, how many ads can you possibly have that's trying to distract me? I don't even know if this is an ad. Are you fucking kidding me? This is the news. This is like the news experience of our time. Like, we went from carving words on the rocks and then showing it to people to like the internet, and yet it's like carving rocks with our chisels and expecting people to read it with ads next to it. That's the advancement that we've come to. So, I said, okay, the news experience is broken. I have a journalism degree, so I have the perfect platform for criticizing people, which is I have a degree, I've never done anything in it, so therefore I am free of those sins. This is the New York Times. It's better, but it's still kind of the same thing. It's like they're all variations of one another. It's like the best publications in the world show you less ads or less intrusive. That's about it. So, I want to reinvent the news for the digital age. Imagine if journalism did not exist. Like, we didn't have newspapers or news sites until today. What would that experience be like? How would you rethink it from the ground up? I think you would respect the audience. You would encourage diversity and debating instead of holding on to this thing called unbiasedness. And you would make an open source platform so that anybody can speak their mind. And then you figure out how to make money. Thank you, software. Like this is, I see this slide so often in business marketing. So I ran this thing called the Moby Dick Project. It was financed by the Knight Foundation with a couple of sessions talking about it. And then Don, where are you? Don Dodge. Yeah, he was there. So this is the mock-up that I created of a news site that I would actually read. So it's a platform where any user can be an editor. They're able to actually upload media and let people follow a specific story. Like, it is crazy for me that I cannot go to the story about the drone that crashed in Iran and be like, follow, tell me when something's new. You can't do that. Because everybody's too busy writing articles and narratives. Because everybody's too busy writing the same format we've been doing since the Civil War. Like, articles, narratives. I kind of just want to know what's going on. Can you give me blurbs? Like, in this age of Twitter, we can't do that. And that's why Twitter's become such an effective news platform. So instead of having articles, you have updates. So each block of text is either sourced from somewhere else or written by the person who's managing the page, and we're rebuilding the news from the ground up by actually reporting the news and not trying to create articles and narratives. And then the comments, I no longer wish to read racist comments every time Barack Obama is mentioned. I'm going to just make sure the comments are from my friends. So let's rethink this. Like, when Huffington Post has 10,000 comments, no one reads those 10,000 comments. Why are they necessary? SEO. That's about it. So let's rethink this, and let's figure out a way to create a better news experience. I am going to raise somewhere between $250 and $1 million for this project, and I will not be running it. I'm looking for a founding team to actually run this business. So if you are interested, I need a 2-person team who can code and design at the same time. Come talk to me. So thank you.
It just gives you a glimpse of what was going on at the TechStars Founders Conference in Vegas. We'll have much more in the following weeks for you to check out. We want to say, really appreciate everybody that came to the event. Everybody took a couple days out of their normal lives and came and hung out with us and hopefully learned a lot. That includes people from all around the world, really, that came
TechStars
that
Network.
are managing accelerators that are like TechStars. So we had a day just for them, too, where we tried to teach them what we've learned and share with them. They brought a few of their founders. People came from as far away as New Zealand and Australia. And
Asia.
All over the world. So thanks to everybody for taking time out to do that. Thanks to you, Claire, for joining us on the show, as always.
David.
And we will be back with another episode of This Week in TechStars next week. See you then.